Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I know it's been forever and I'm probably gonna say that every single video I film because that's just life. So as you can tell from my new surroundings, I've moved. That's a picture of baby me in the background. My new apartment is super pretty, as you can tell from the pretty background. It's my nice kitchen. I'm living alone right now, but my roommate is coming in 2 weeks. So I guess I gotta film a lot of videos now before he gets here. So I saw that you all were doing the Troy along, and it's pretty fascinating. But I suck at rereading, and I'm certainly not gonna reread the Iliad. Just no. But instead of reading the Iliad, what I did was read the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I guess I'm gonna do a little comparison to the Iliad. Now, between the Iliad and the Odyssey, I prefer the Iliad. And I think it's because of the lack of plot. Well, it's not to say the Iliad doesn't have plot, but it's not like a beginning, middle, and end hero's journey sort of thing. It's like about a 10-year long war, and it's about how we get to the war, and it just doesn't follow the normal narrative that I'm used to, which I find way more intriguing than Odysseus' story. And I read the Iliad first. So I kind of thought Odysseus was an asshole when I got to the Odyssey. But he was redeemed in the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So, oh man, I'm really afraid my camera's gonna fall because it just did like 2 seconds ago. Okay, so the Song of Achilles is about the hero and the greatest warrior in a generation. So, and it's told from Patroclus' point of view, who is the reason that Achilles rejoins the Trojan War. Okay, so it's told from Patroclus' point of view, and Patroclus is the lover of Achilles. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it starts off in Patroclus' childhood, and with the reason Patroclus was exiled from his homeland, which was because he murdered someone and wasn't smart enough to lie about it. He's not a cunning man, Patroclus. No, he's not. And he gets sent to Phthia. Rebecca sucks at pronouncing Greek. Anyway, he gets sent to Phthia, where Peleus, the father of Achilles, raises orphan boys to turn them into an army. And he's very unhappy there. He's an outsider. He's confronting the fact that he murdered someone. But his world rests on Achilles' shoulders. Achilles is like this beam of light that fills the atmosphere. You can't help but look towards him and seek his attention, his gaze, because he seems more alive than everyone else, and it's because he's a demigod, and it's also because Patroclus is in love. I think that's just a great way to explain love, to explain that when you're in love, the person you're in love with seems godlike. They seem more alive. They make you feel more alive when you're around them. Only the Greeks, man. Only the Greeks could do this. So Patroclus and Achilles grow in age, and they're sent to Chiron. Chiron, Chiron. They're sent to this good centaur, the only good centaur in all of Greek mythology, and he trains them how to be heroes. And you would think from all the hero montages you've ever seen, like in Disney's Hercules, that it would be about teaching them how to fight. But it isn't, because Achilles is the greatest fighter ever. And when Chiron sees him fight, he says, "There's nothing I can teach you." And Patroclus says he doesn't want to learn how to fight. So instead they're taught music, and they're taught about nature, and they're taught about healing, and they're taught about hunting and trapping. And there's this line later on when it says that they were heroes, and they were trained for music and art, but put to war, put to killing. And it was just so poignant. Madeline Miller has a lot of these insights. Okay, I don't have a voice because I don't talk all day, and if you don't use it, you'll lose it. You see, this is what you get. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so they're hanging out with Chiron, and they get called to war. But Thetis, the mother of Achilles, receives some sort of prophecy that he's going to die during the Trojan War. And she wants him raised to godhood. And him dying would kind of, put a kibosh on that. So she steals him away. She hides him as a girl. And Patroclus goes and finds him, because Patroclus would do anything for Achilles. And he says that he is the female Achilles' husband. And it's just this weird, interlude when they're on the island and Achilles is pretending to be a woman, is a nice sort of flip to their relationship, because normally Patroclus seems to take this weaker role, and he's more feminine and that sort of thing. But on the island, Achilles is literally a woman. So I just liked that flip to their relationship. But of course, they get found out by Odysseus, the master trickster. Odysseus. Anyway, so they get found out by Odysseus, and they are dragged off to the Trojan War. There's no wins. They make a human sacrifice, and there are wins. The sacrifice of Agamemnon's daughter there. That was sad and brutal. Since reading the Iliad, I've read, because this was the first ancient book that I read. I read it in my first year home from university. But since then I've read that play about Agamemnon. I've read the Orestia. And knowing what it meant that his daughter was killed to further the Trojan War, and how Clytemnestra felt about it, and everything that would follow, made the impact of her death so much more emotional for me. Just knowing all the key players and knowing their reactions to it. It was so sad. Anyway, so then they make it to Troy, and the first 9 years of the war are fun. They're fun, guys. War's great. You know I don't mean that. They're just, Achilles gets to prove himself. He gets to dance, the dance battle. He gets to be the greatest. He gets to show off, and he gets to be challenged, and Patroclus gets to heal things. Patroclus is he's not that great at war, so it takes a bit of a secondary role. Reached the climax of the Trojan War, or not the Trojan War, but the climax of Achilles' story, when Agamemnon has his war spoils taken away by a priest because he took a priestess as war spoils. We should know not to mess with the gods already, Agamemnon. Anyway, so his bed slave is taken, and he decides he's gonna take Achilles in place of Chryseis. He's gonna take Briseis, and now reading this the first time, I had assumed that Briseis and Achilles had a relationship, and that they were more than slave and master. But in Madeline Miller's book, she gives the relationship of Briseis. She makes the strongest relationship between Patroclus and Briseis, and I think that may have been the decision that I disagree. She gets taken, and Achilles goes away to pout. And that's honestly how I felt in the Iliad. I was like, oh my gosh, Achilles, like, get over it. Achilles, come on. But Madeline Miller really strikes home the fact that his honor is impugned here. It's about honor. It's not about his things being taken away. And he doesn't care that Briseis is going to be raped. Patroclus cares about that. And there's this other prophecy that the greatest of the Greeks will die before Hector. And Thetis is confused about this because her son is the greatest of the Greeks. Who's better than Achilles? But of course the greatest of the Greeks is Patroclus because he's the kindest and the truest and the most honest. I don't know if that prophecy actually exists outside of the Song of Achilles. I don't recall it in the Iliad, but that was many years ago. So Patroclus prevents Briseis' rape by telling Agamemnon that he can't trash Achilles' honor and still have a functioning army. The pouting goes on. The war gets worse. The Trojans are right up on the beaches. They're about to, they are burning the ships so that the Greeks cannot leave, so that they are nothing more than refugees. And Achilles still won't fight. And Patroclus begs to lead the army. He says, you don't have to fight. The Greeks just need a symbol, and I will be that symbol since your honor's on the line. And the other thing that Madeline really makes clear is, to Achilles, honor is all he has because his life is so short. He knows that he's going to die in the Trojan War, and all he has is the stories about him and what people will think of him after he's dead. So honor is his afterlife, and it is more important than anybody else's, because they will live after him. And that was something that I didn't get when I was reading the Iliad. I just saw it as this big pouting fit. Patroclus goes, and when I read the Iliad, I had always pictured Patroclus as a warrior, who stole Achilles' armor. But in Madeline Miller's book, Achilles helps him put on the armor, and he instructs him not to go into the fray. He says, just stay behind and let the Greeks fight for you. They will fight better just because you were there. You don't have to lift a spear. But Patroclus is swept away with the glory of war, and he kills Sarpedon, one of the Anatolians, and he becomes overcome by this warlust, and he decides that he's going to climb into the battlements and steal Helen back. And Apollo repeatedly throws him from the wall, and still this lust is in his eyes that he is going to be this hero for the Greeks. And it just comes out of nowhere, and it's almost like this God-driven craziness. And of course, this is what gets him killed. Hector comes upon him, thrown from the wall, and kills him. And it's not so bad reading Patroclus' death, but then Achilles learns of it, and he won't be parted from the body and that sort of thing. And in Greek society, or ancient Greek society, a proper burial is extremely important, because that is how you reach the underworld. And it was brought home in this book because Patroclus' soul can't find rest. And it can't find rest first because Achilles won't burn his body. So he stays around until Achilles dies. And then when he is turned into ashes, he still isn't buried because they haven't built the tomb for Achilles. And then when they build the tomb for Achilles, they don't put his name on it. So he's still not able to be put to rest. And it's just, Madeline Miller effectively brought home the fact that how important a burial is, and how a soul might be not at rest, and how it's unfair to the dead. But that's going ahead. So Patroclus dies. Achilles is super angry, and he is gonna go kill Hector because Hector has killed the one thing that Achilles cares about. And in the 10 years of the Trojan War, he's gone from this sweet, naive, sort of like the light in the center of the room. He's gone from that to this killer. And Patroclus was like the thing that reminded him of the past, the thing that made him human. And that's gone now. So Achilles becomes nothing more than a war machine. And he kills and he kills and he kills until he kills he doesn't kill, but he fights the river god and wins, and he kills Hector, and he disrespects his body. And you aren't allowed to feel the same pity for Hector in the Song of Achilles that you do in the Iliad. In the Iliad, you see Hector's family and his wife and his young kids, and the disrespect to his corpse just hurts so much more in the Iliad. And then Priam comes and begs for the body back. And eventually Achilles dies. And then Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, born on the island of Skopos, where he was masquerading as a woman, comes. And okay, this was the really fascinating part to me. Neoptolemus reminds me of Cassandra Clare's Sebastian. He's sort of, he's been raised in the caves under the water with the gods, or the sea nymphs. So he's inhuman, and he reads so much like Sebastian. I couldn't get over it. So he's cruel, and he doesn't allow Patroclus to be buried. And eventually, Patroclus, the dead Patroclus, who can't find rest, tells Thetis the story of Achilles' life and how much light he brought and how he was more than just a killer. And Thetis allows him to finally have rest, and she writes his name on Patroclus's, or on Achilles' grave. And the last paragraph is their souls reuniting in the underworld, and it reminds me of Orpheus's shade and meeting his wife in the underworld. So yeah, that was my Troilog.